What was your first show?
Well, my first show happened probably, let's see, that was in early fall of 71. And all of a sudden, one of my good friends called me up and he said, listen, I got tickets to see the Grateful Dead at the Academy of Music. You want to go? I was like, fuck yeah, man. Are you kidding? So the Academy of Music, my show was 3/28/72.
Wow.
And it was the only Pigpen show I ever saw, of course, not knowing that's what it would be. And it was the last show they played in New York before they split to Europe, the Europe 70 tour. So I got to see that band.
Holy moly, man.
And from they opened up with Truckin', and forget it, my life was never the same after that.
Well, and you mentioned, too, that you speak of it, and I agree with you, about how it's like going to church. And then I think when you mentioned that you went on the string of the Spring 77 shows, I mean, that must have been, I mean, that's the high water mark right there.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I saw shows in 73 and 74, and then, of course, we thought the Dead broke up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm in college in 76. And
where'd you go to college?
I went to State University of New York in New Paltz.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so I'm sitting in my dorm one day, and one of my friends comes bursting through the door, and he goes, dude, NEW in New York City is broadcasting a new Grateful Dead show. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, I'm telling you. So we actually got in his car and drove down to his mother's house down on Long Island and crowded into his bedroom, 5 of us, and turned on the radio at exactly 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and listened to the show that eventually will become One from the Vault.
Yeah.
Which is the album release for Blues for Allah.
Yeah.
And of course we're beside ourselves. We can't even believe what we're hearing. Like the music they're playing is like ridiculous, you know. It's like Help on the Way.
Yep.
Like we're hearing this for the first time, and then they toured that summer. Got to see a bunch of that, but most of the time when they would come around, you know, if you're in school, you're in school. Or if you're a working musician, you're a working musician. So you can't just drop everything, go on tour.
Yeah.
So now spring of 77 comes, and we see that they're playing all over the Northeast.
It's like an I-90 corridor tour almost.
Yes. So we also see that, well, where we're located, we can go to every damn show if we want.
Yeah.
We need to be vigilant because finals are coming, and some of the shows are right on finals. So we made a pact, 4 of us. My friend had a van. We made a pact. We're going to go to every show we can possibly go to. We're going to have one designated driver every day. And we'll pick straws to start. And then we'll, you know, go in a rotation. And the rest of us can do what we want. And that's what we did. And we only missed 2 shows on that Northeast run.
Did you go to Barton Hall?
Of course.
Was it really? Oh, I was just saying, sorry.
Here's the deal with Barton Hall. It is a great show, and I've heard it many, many times.
But there were so many other great shows on that tour. All of them could have been held up.
No, that's the thing. If you hold all of them up to a microscope, they all were great for their own reason. Barton Hall was a great show. For me, we got there late. And we're in the very back of the room in Barton Hall. I played Barton Hall. Barton Hall is a big, huge, horrible-sounding gymnasium.
Oh, totally. I went and saw Further there on Valentine's Day like 6 years ago or something.
Right.
Huge.
It's an awful place.
Old school building.
Yeah. So for me, the music didn't sound that great, but we knew they were playing well. The next night, however, which was the last show of the run for us, was 5/9 in Rochester. In Rochester, we got up there really early, like in the middle of the afternoon, and there was no one around, and the doors were open. The Buffalo War Memorial. So we walk in. No, there's no one. There's no roadies. There's no security. So we just wander down the floor and sitting in about the 6th row in front of Phil's rig, and you know we're a bunch of equipment geeks. You know? And we're going up to the stage lip and we're checking all their shit out. And it's like, wow, this is cool. This is the first time in the whole entire tour that we've gotten this close to the stage.
Yeah.
There's no one there. So we sit back in the sixth row, and I was pretty tripped out from the night before, but we dosed again, and we're just sitting there, and time is going by. We're shooting the shit, and all of a sudden, some point, security guards come in. People start coming in. Nobody's bothering us. If the place is getting filled up and no one's bothering us, and we're in the sixth row, and the lights go off, and the band comes out, and they open up with it's just the most amazing Help Slip Franklins. And we remained in the sixth row the entire show. No one ever came to their seats. No one ever bothered us. And for me, that show was devastating. It really tore me into pieces.
Yeah.
And then at the whole way up there, we were talking about how we just want to hear Uncle John's band one more time, just one more time. And now the show is over, and we're waiting for them to come back and do another song, and we're all looking at each other going, it's going to be Johnny B. Good, of course. How could it not be Johnny B. Good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden they come out and they play Uncle John's band, and we were just sobbing.
Yeah.
Sobbing.
Well, what's crazy is when you talk about your experience with your friends, it's like that's one of the beauties of the Dead that I never really found with any other band, is that we all have those just personal connections in such weird ways to the band,
Yeah. And what was really interesting about that tour for us was, you have your designated driver speeding back to the school. Got to drive 4 hours. It's 12:30 and we're on the road, and four of us in the back of the van tripping balls with flashlights, studying vinyl. And I'll tell you what, we all aced our final.
Oh yeah, man. Life is good, right?
Yeah, life. Those were the days. And on a lot of levels, it was the last time for me that I saw the band play at that level. The fall, we did the 4 shows that were in the upstate New York region.
Yeah.
I think we went to Rochester, Colgate. I can't remember the other 2 shows. Saw 4 shows, and there was something about the band that had changed just slightly. And then 78 and 79, I just, I don't know, there was something, and I started to kind of lose interest.
Yeah.
My musical tastes also were changing. I was really into avant-garde jazz at that point, and I really, I was kind of like, I was thinking, I can't go back. And then summer 79, 2 of my friends that were with me on that, spring 77 Odyssey moved to Colorado. And they called me up and they said, Dead are coming, 3 nights Red Rocks. You have to come. So I was like, okay. So I book a plane ticket. I go out to Colorado, and the first night is the most glorious night ever to see music. Just amazing. And Red Rocks, I don't know if you've ever been, but
that's the Mecca.
It's the greatest venue. And I played there a lot of times with Phil and with the Dead, and it truly is one of the most magical places.
I mean, that's got to be such a full circle thing with all the years you played with Phil, and to be, especially at Red Rocks, what was that experience like? I mean, you spent a lot of time the band's still, I guess, quote unquote, around, but you spent a lot of time on the road with Phil, playing with Phil, and what did that mean to you as a performer and someone that was, a Deadhead?
As anything in life, I mean, the first time I ever played with Phil, it was at a rehearsal for this fall '99 tour. It was his first post Grateful Dead tour, country tour, and it was an interesting band. It was me, Phil, John Molo on drums, Warren Haynes, and Derek Trucks.
Yeah. I mean, good Lord, that's a lineup.
Yeah, truly, truly great lineup, and it was. We were rehearsing. It was the first day, and the way the shows were going to work is the very first shows I ever played with Phil was at the Warfield in San Francisco, and Jeff Manson, who's the lead guitar player at DSO, and I were playing in a band called the Zen Tricksters at that time. And the two of us were going to play with Phil. And as it turned out, it was the only shows that Jeff was going to play with Phil. Yep. And then Phil went on to do a string of shows with the guys from Little Feat.
Yep.
And then I joined him in the Midwest. The first show was in Detroit. But at the first rehearsal, I'm a wreck. I can't even believe I'm in the room with the guy. Phil was always my guy.
Well, he had the jazz background.
Yeah, and just his way of playing really skewed me and my way of playing. I saw it from his perspective in a lot of ways, rhythmically and harmonically. And so here I am, in the room. And all of a sudden, I don't know, there came this part of the rehearsal where Warren Haynes had to go make a phone call. John Molo, something happened to his bass drum pedal, and Steve Kimmock was the guitar player at that time. Before he ended up quitting on the road. But he's futzing with his tubes and his amp, so it's just Phil and I, and he's looking at me going, "Hey, Rob, why don't you and I just play something? Let's play in B minor for a while." Okay? He goes, "Go ahead, start it." So I just started some groove, and 20 minutes later, at some point the band came in, and 20 minutes later, we stopped, and Phil was just ecstatic. And he just, we were all looking at our shoes.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time told me later, she goes, Phil was losing it, and all you guys were looking at the floor. And it's because I think for all of us, it was a really profound moment. It was like all of a sudden we found, like my whole life I've been searching to get to this certain place, and there it was, out of nothing.
Yeah. And
that really started something. It started a great conversation with Phil and I, and then we did that tour, and it just, something clicked with Phil vocally. Me, Warren, and Phil just had a thing. We just had a thing. And after the year ended and the spring came, and I got called again to do a tour, and that was the first tour Jimmy Herring did.
Was that the Q?
Yes. It was just before the Q. The other guitar player was I can't remember now. I see his face and I can't remember his name. I'm bad that way. Anyway, we did a spring tour, and it was great. And then in the summertime, I went to go see Phil at Jones Beach on Long Island in New York. And I was backstage, and he came up to me. He goes, "I want to talk to you." I was like, "What's up?" And he goes, "I want you to join my band permanently." He goes, I have an idea. And it was, he says, "I want to use you and Jimmy Herring and John Molo, and we're gonna tour, and every tour we're gonna have a different guest guitar player." All right, cool. Hit me with a stick.
Yeah, good. Exactly. What is it about
fall?
Oh, sorry, as you're saying, sorry.
No, the fall comes, and the first guitar player is Warren Haynes. And we played our first night. It was in Burlington, Vermont. And after the show, Jimmy came in to the dressing room, and he looked at me. He goes, "Man," he goes, we got to talk to Phil, and we got to just keep Warren, because we got something really special here." And we knew it. Everyone knew it. And Phil agreed, and then that was the birth of the Q.
Yeah.